Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Across the Pitch on the AAT Sports Network. I, I don't ever. There's very few times that I'm speechless. There's ever very few times that I'm at a loss for words. Tonight is definitely one of those nights where I don't even know where to begin. Um, if you've never watched our show before, my name is Mike Barrera. I'll be one of the hosts tonight. I think Jose Nunez is hopping on. I believe the Almanies will be joining us as well. I don't remember a time when the Philadelphia Union looked so just dead. It didn't look like they got off the plane today. I'm sharing out our social media links so that way everybody can hop on the show and join the conversation because one thing I do enjoy about these post game shows is that you can let things out as they happen in real time, whether it's a great win, whether it's a tough loss like tonight. These are great opportunities for people to just vent things out and say things that maybe are a little like hot takes or maybe emotional. And that's fine. That's what we're here for, is to have those conversations. So that way tomorrow morning when we wake up, we feel a little bit better. Let's be level headed. But after one of these matches, I'm seeing Twitter right now blowing up and Facebook, and people are angry, rightfully so. Hold on one second. Live talking Union. Let's get this conversation started. The Philadelphia Union have lost 7-0. Speaking of angry comments, I'm going to bring up one of comments from Evan saying embarrassing. Evan says, I don't care if we were playing for Open Cup. That was just pathetic. Did they practice this week or were they just looking at their FIFA card all week? They should all be lower after the game. Joe joins us. Just wasn't our day. And Evan says here, it's passion. I think at this point with Philadelphia sports, we're just passionate. As you see, I'm wearing a Phillies hat. There's a lot of fun and exciting things with Philadelphia Phillies going on right now. It's for passion. The Eagles are 1-0. It's passion. We all want to succeed. We all want to win. But as Philadelphia fans, we've also suffered countless losses. Union fans especially. We have 3 Open Cup losses, the MLS Cup, etc. Probably the semifinal losses in the CONCACAF or Champions Cup or Champions League, whatever you want to call it now. We've suffered through these losses where the passion really comes out when these games happen like this, where you just have no explanation, no answers. And again, I'm at a loss for words. I have been on the Bradley Carnell train since probably the first month. I think that's when you could see that this club really was something different. And after today, after I get this frustration out, I'm still going to be on the Bradley Carnell bus, and I'm definitely a big supporter of him, and I think he's doing great, and I think he deserves the respect that he's earned. But this just was one of those matches that you felt like he was trying to get too cute with lineup. So let's go for the lineup first. If you recall from a few weeks ago, the Union took care of business at the Open Cup quarterfinal against the Red Bulls, and then they were facing them again the following Saturday in Harrison. And Chris Donovan was ended up playing as an attacking mid, and it was just a disaster. The first half was terrible. Chris Donovan was just way out of his league in that first 4 or 5 minutes. And we thought this was one of those matches where Carnell just got a little too cute with the rotation. So I'm going to look at it tonight, and I'm going to read through real quick. And again, I had the same feeling today. So up top, we have Milan Lasky, Micah Ua, Indy Vasiliev and Quinn Sullivan together, Lukic and Bueno. Now, Danley Jean-Jacques was away for international duty. Bradley Carnell mentioned that he had probably played the most out of every single person who had went away for international duty. So I'm not surprised at all that he did not start tonight. If you read my match preview, you saw that I had mentioned the plus 150 for the Lukic shots on target +1, which he ends up hitting tonight. I guess that's my only consolation prize. But I was not surprised to see Bueno started in place of Danley Jean-Jacques next to Lukic. The back line is really where Carnell may have gotten a little too creative here. So Frankie Westfield was a left back. Again, Tuesday's a massive match. I want to win Tuesday. I have no problem with resting Kai Wagner once in a while. He's played basically every single game, I think, except for the one that he was suspended for. He was injured. He had 2 injuries, 2 matches he missed earlier this year because of injury. So he plays all the time. I have no issue with Carnell trying to give him at least 45 minutes off. So you had Frankie Westfield at left back. Nathan Harriel, who's basically just been your third center back at this point, next to Jacob Glesnes, another player who's played a lot of minutes. But then Alejandro Bedoya is slotted into the right back, and Andrew Rick's in net. Now, two things there. One, Bradley Carnell in his press conference this week mentioned that Blake has been training. He's been looking better. He traveled with the team this week as well. I expected him to start tonight. I was a bit concerned considering the turf out in Vancouver with him starting with his right hamstring injury. But I was surprised to see Rick, but I had no problem with it. Again, I don't mind it. I love Rick. He's been fantastic. But the Alejandro Bedoya at right back, let's focus on that for a second. Earlier this season, we saw some pretty significant rotation because of injuries, because of international duty. I think there was even one with a yellow card accumulation or some sort of suspension. There were things that were in the way where Bradley Carnell ended up putting Alejandro Bedoya at right back. And I thought Ali in those moments was fine. Was he great? No. But he got the job done. He looked capable. But I don't think tonight warranted him playing right back. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to get to the reasoning why, because I'm especially with the way the match ended, with Neil Pierre being out there. It doesn't make any sense to me. So let's look at the rest of the rotation, the lineup, rather. Again, I mentioned the 11. Danley Jean-Jacques was on the bench. Kai Wagner, Bruno Damiani, Neil Pierre, Ty Baribo, Olivier Mbaizo, George Marks, Jeremy Raffanello, and Kevin Sullivan. That is your entire lineup, bench included. I do not understand why Olivier is not playing this match. We know he's not going to start on Tuesday. There's absolutely no reason why Olivier should be starting on Tuesday. It should either be Nathan Harriel or Frankie Westfield starting on Tuesday night. It's a massive game. They have to win to advance to the final. That is a huge game. You need your best right back available. To me, personally, it's Frankie, but whatever. We'll agree to disagree if you think it's Nathan. So why are you not putting Olivier Mbaizo in a right back? That's not to say that Olivier is the greatest right back we've ever seen. He's far from it. We've all said throughout this season, he's consistently inconsistent. He does some good things. He does some bad things. Does he blow a game? Not necessarily. But does he win a game? Probably not. That's Olivier. I'm fine with that. Against a Western Conference team with some rotation needed for Tuesday, I'm fine with that. But Alejandro Bedoya in that role. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Before I get to that, the second thing I wanted to mention, and I'll get to the comments in a second. I know I see them coming in too. If you had intentions of playing Neil Pierre tonight, and I guess Bradley probably did because of the blowout that was going on, why not just start Neil Pierre? If you're entering this match saying, this is a Western Conference game, we have heavy rotation, we're going to get creative with our lineup, we're going to try different things, then why not just give Neil the start? We already know his brother's playing with Vancouver. He's been with Vancouver, whatever. The whole connection's there. It's a West Coast game. Give him the opportunity. You've thrown out Chris Donovan at attacking mid for 45 minutes, which was a mistake. You threw out Bedoya tonight when you had a capable right back on your bench. That was a mistake. I don't understand why Neil doesn't start tonight. It doesn't make sense to me. Why is he on your bench then? This feels like the Makania thing all over again from last season. What's the point of having somebody on your bench if they're not actually going to play? And I remember we had this conversation, was it 2 weeks ago or after one of the matches? I don't remember right now, but I know our friend Eric had joined the conversation. He says, well, maybe you don't put Cavan into there because of the physicality of the match or something along those lines. We talked about Kevin Sullivan and why he didn't see time. And I'm thinking to myself, and I answered him that night, if Kevin isn't going to be capable of coming into these particular matches because of the physicality, because of his size, then why is he on your bench? This is not a team that's fighting for a final playoff spot. This is not a team that's at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. This is a team that is fighting for a supporter shield, a number one seed, an MLS Cup, a U.S. Open Cup final. If that's the case, then all hands on deck. Every single person on this team should be able to play and enter a match on a regular basis. I'm going to get to the comments because now I'm getting heated here. Kyle Leaf joins us. The game definitely made me feel a whole lot better about canceling season tickets. Kyle, that's a whole different conversation for another day, but I understand. I get it. We're all frustrated right now. I get it 100%. SC414R Didn't know I was tuning into a boat race. Yeah, this was ugly there. Cole says Wagner just had 2 weeks off. Listen, actually, Cole, great point. I'm gonna get to that in a second too. Joe says, "Am I frustrated with the team tonight? Yes, I am looking at Ernst Tanner rejecting Thomas Muller to come to Philly. Absolutely, yes. Another great point. You know what? I'm gonna before I get to the other comments, I'm gonna stick to these points. Cole, let's bring up the fact that we just had an international break. As Jose Nunez mentioned in our last show, it is an international break. The Union did not play while their players were away. Now, yes, of course, Danley, Ty Baribo, they saw time with their national squad. You want to give them some rest. Kai Wagner did not. I'm not saying you have to play him 90 minutes tonight, but if you have intentions of playing him for at least a 45-minute half, I want to start with the best squad to start the match. I'm not really big on this whole let's just hope to God we get to the first half whistle, not losing 3-0. I know Curtin did that a bit. I know Carnell's done this a few times. I would rather start with a better roster. Maybe you squeak out a win or a goal in the first half, and now you're entering the locker room. Okay, we're fine. 0-0. We can survive another 40 minutes. We can make the transitions and the subs, whatever. But Cole, yeah, Wagner's had 2 weeks off. Joe then says the thing about Thomas Muller being rejected by Ernst Tanner. That report came out earlier this year. Basically, Tanner was approached by Thomas or his representative, whatever, and Tanner denied him. Now, I get it. The money side of things probably wouldn't work considering the union's way of spending. I get it, but it sucks when a player that wanted, in some capacity, to join the Philadelphia Union ends up burning you for a hat trick. So, Joe, I get it. I know he's one of your favorite players, or you appreciate him as a player. So it has to sting more for you too. Evan says, was Westfield in Spain with U.S. Youth National Team? I don't know where he was, Evan, but I know he went away and was called up. I know Kevin was called up as well. Let's see. Mandy joins us. Hello, Mandy. How are you? Crazy game. Didn't even know that Vancouver could score a field goal and an extra point. Cole says Pierre was decent in the train wreck that game was, in his opinion. Yeah, I agree here. Going to keep scrolling down. Mandy said, yeah, I get the football reference he meant, Mandy. It's late. It's 12 o'clock in the morning. And right now, Jillian and Kyle and Jose, they're all talking to Bradley Carnell and listening to Bradley Carnell. I don't have the press conference on. Obviously, I'm talking to you all. It would be hard to do that. I cannot wait to hear what they had to say. Cole says Danley played 2 full games, so resting him was smart. Ty played about 90 minutes throughout the whole 2 weeks, so I think he could have gone from that start. Again, a lot to discuss. Let's get into the game now. We've discussed the lineup, the issues with it. Let's focus on the game here. So, in the first couple minutes, I noticed it in the first 2 minutes of the match, Alejandro Bedoya was being attacked on the right hand side of the field, and I believe the player's name was Ahmed. It was crystal clear that Bedoya could not keep up with him. There was one instance when he just, I think, fell over, broke his ankles completely. And it just got progressively worse and worse. And it wasn't just me. Everybody on Twitter was like, Bedoya's getting fried out there. And when that kept happening, Jacob Glesnes has to then come over to help him out, and it just leaves your entire defense wide open. Again, I'm wearing a Phillies hat. So let's talk about roles, right? You bring in Duran as your closer, and now the bullpen seems to get better. And one of the reasons why is probably because of the roles. Everybody now has a role. Strom has a role. Banks has a role. Duran has a clear role as a closer. Roles are helpful for players. I know what I'm going to do every single week. I know what the coach expects of me. I have the expectations and the role figured out. Alejandro Bedoya's role is a super sub, a guy who can close out a game, a person who can bring intelligence to the field. He is not somebody who should be starting at right back for you against. Oh, Jose, great, perfect. Jose Nunez joins us tonight. Jose, what I was just saying was, more people are coming in. Hold on one second. Let me bring everybody on. Jillian's on. Is Kyle coming too? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
Okay, that's
I don't
fine.
think he is. Yeah.
The three of us will have this conversation. So what I was just talking about was how the Phillies have established roles for their bullpen, and the bullpen has improved. Alejandro Bedoya had a role prior to tonight's match. sub, closer, intelligence manager on the field, that kind of thing. The role he played tonight is just not for him, and it showed big time by how many times Ahmed burned him running down the right side of the field. Jillian, I would love to first off hear what did Bradley Carnell say tonight, and what are your thoughts on what was a historically bad night for the Union?
I mean, he kind of said that, you know, basically sometimes you just have like a day where you're off, and that was it. And so he, you know, hopefully they regroup for Tuesday. He's like, well, that's a different competition. When asked about it, he's like, well, that's a different competition, but um, you know, yeah.
Jose, any
Yeah, yeah. Hey, first and foremost, hello from Los Angeles. I hope my connection works out well
good?
here at this beautiful, overpriced Hilton hotel. Um, One of the first quotes from Bradley Cornell today was, "They exploited us and they exposed us," which was really telling, I think, of that entire match. Right when you think about a historic 7-0 loss at the hand of not Pachuca, not Monterrey, not a top. Well, actually, Vancouver's a pretty. It's actually a very good Concacaf team, so I take that back. But you're not looking at giants, right, in terms of like the different teams across the different leagues. But um, really interesting comment, and I think it's pretty telling of where that mentality is right now. Right, a very difficult loss, and I think maybe I speak for Jill here a little bit too, thinking about some of these young guys. How do you bring up Andrew Rick after this, right? Like mentally, it has to be so tough to be that young and suffer a 7-0 loss, which maybe it's a maybe it's a blessing in disguise, right? He gets that experience of, yeah, I never want to go through that again. So, gosh, there's so much to unpack from this game, and I'm trying to get a recording up of the press conference because there were a couple other lines there that I thought were pretty interesting. Jillian already mentioned the one about different competitions, which was kind of like, I mean, you have to. It's yes, Bradley. They are different competitions. Thank you, but like, what are you doing? Like it's I don't know. So much to unpack.
And that's honestly, guys. I mean, I feel like we've done this show so many times. We can almost walk through it with how we speak and the way we intro the show. I really felt like I was speechless for the first minute of my show. I don't know if I made any sense. I didn't know what to say. It was one of those nights that I will never forget from a Union fan perspective. And it's one of those things where every little thing that could have possibly gone wrong went completely wrong. And I actually had some optimism. We had, Thomas Muller got the yellow card. What was it, like in the first 5 or 6 minutes? I'm like, okay, great. Like, this is awesome. We have some positive things going our way early on. And even in the first 15 minutes, you see the ball rolling across the box in front of Rick. I think it was Berhalter just barely missed. You're like, okay, they're dodging bullets. It ain't pretty, but they're surviving. And it just all of a sudden imploded. I'm trying to look now what the first goal would mean. I think it was the 18th minute off the corner kick. Laborda got the header. But Jillian, Jose kind of mentions Andrew Rick. You see him at the end of this match sitting there just kind of like thinking for a few minutes. What were your thoughts on Rick tonight? As much as, yes, he let up 7 goals, some of these opportunities were just, what is he
Unreal.
supposed to do?
Yeah. Yeah, no, watching that, like, I really felt for him there because, I mean, he's 19 and
Yeah,
that's just, a tough game to have to deal with. And it's not all his fault either. That's the thing. Like, he's got a good head on his shoulders. I'll say that. Um, that's got to be tough for anyone to deal with, of course.
sure.
And, he's going to learn from this. Again, it's not like I don't blame him for like most of any of that, but either, just I was really, really hoping he would save one of those PKs because he's been so good at them. But I mean,
Yeah,
how awesome that would have been. But, I think if anyone can, not be too hard on themselves, like I think Rick will be okay. He's really got a good mindset on him. But yeah, I just really felt for him watching that. Just, that's tough. And And along with Rick there, just like with Neil, and I'm sure we'll get into that, but like just seeing these young guys like kind of having that game that they were in, that's definitely a learning experience for sure.
Well, I think you mentioned before you guys hopped on, I kind of went on this little rant about Pierre and how I understand that you want to get creative sometimes with these rotations, but if Pierre is going to play tonight, then start him. Let him start. Put Nate at right back, and just do not put Bedoya in a situation where he's set up to fail. Um, and it goes back to the point I said a few minutes ago before you guys hopped on. This is a championship contending squad. Every player needs to be able to play in some capacity. So I want to see Pierre starting. I want to see him getting minutes because you never know. We are one injury away from him realistically playing more often than he probably should be right now, considering his age. But Jose, the first goals, you have Laborda getting the header in the 18th minute off the corner kick. Now we knew Vancouver was pretty good on set pieces coming into this match. I think they already had double digits. And then you have, I think his name is Sabi, scores the ball that rolls in the box after Bedoya and Glesnes get beat. What are your thoughts just when it's 2-0? Considering the match was still alive, but it did not look good at the, like with the 20th some minute.
Let me just refresh something here, making sure I'm not missing it because it'll answer or help answer the question. Lukic started, correct?
Yes.
Okay. If shit's going so sideways with Bedoya being beat left and right by Ahmed, why not swap and put Lukic at right back, who has played defensive roles in U.S. Open Cup matches? And it's not just because he's a defensive player, but because he's actually pretty agile and mobile, right? Like maybe that helps alleviate that entire wing. But to your question, like at 2-0, I sense that maybe there was some tweaking happening from the sidelines, trying to inform the guys like, hey, they're exploiting this side. Which I don't know that you needed a data analyst to show you what we were all seeing in terms of the spots that the team was getting beat at. So I don't know, man. This is one that's gonna take a while, and God bless Todd Lewis of the Free Kick Pod having to break down 6 goals against. I'm sorry, 7 goals
7.
against. That's gonna be a 25-minute video of him just breaking down an absolute disaster of an evening. So one thing to note: Vancouver and Minnesota. Only 2 teams with a better defensive record than Philadelphia yet this season. I believe New York City might be actually also tied with 33 goals against. But nonetheless, it is what it is. 33, New York City, 33. So New York City, Vancouver, and Minnesota have all better defensive records than Philly, so or equal and or better. So really, really interesting evening. I don't know.
When you think about goal differential, I mean, what a hit that takes to our goal differential to lose 7-0. That's
No,
Yeah,
it's awful.
they're the
awful.
best in the league. In fact, fun fact, before this match, Union and Union 2 both had the best goal differential in their respective leagues.
And I just checked the scoreboard. San Diego and Minnesota are tied 0-0. If San Diego loses, or at least draws, we would still have a lead in the Supporter Shield, right? I know we're 2 points ahead of San Diego. I don't have my phone up in front of me to see who's in third place. Jose, if you want to take a look while I bring up some comments. Dan joins us tonight. I had no idea what the rotation was about, and then to come out that lackluster was not acceptable. Dan, the word acceptable has been used recently by a Eagles reporter. Elliot Short Parks posted on Twitter like a few days ago, if the Eagles were to lose in Kansas City, it would be an acceptable loss, which I don't agree with whatsoever. And there are times when you have understandable losses, like when they lost, in Columbus or Nashville. Like the team is so heavily rotated. You got injuries, you got suspensions. You basically have Union 2 out there the entire time. The Portland game last year, if we lost that one, it'd be an understandable loss. I get that losses happen, but the word acceptable, if you lost 3-0 tonight, fine. But to get blown out 7-0, that's the most unacceptable part of this. It's not the loss that it hurts. It's the way you're getting embarrassed. And all 3 of us were texting. Reminded us of Pachuca. It reminded me of Charlotte in 2022. I mean, Jillian, just from like a morale and confidence standpoint, it sucks to see these players just lay down and get completely throttled.
Yeah, throttled is right. It really sucks being on the other end of being throttled. I was saying
Whoa,
it's like now we
whoa!
know now we know what DC felt like in 2022 facing the Union.
Mm-hmm.
Like good grief. But yeah, it's so defeating. It's so deflating. And man, did that goal differential take a hit. Like, yeah, right now, Union are, if San Diego draws, yeah, Union will be 1 point up on San Diego and Scotia, it looks like. But
Minnesota just scored, so it's 1-0 Minnesota.
oh yeah, I see. I have that game on in my house here too. Yeah. So that is but yeah, that's something you think when you see, okay, the whole squad's healthy. There is nobody on the injury list, and then and Vancouver's missing Brian White, and you're like, okay, maybe the Union get a point out of this at least, and the whole thing went to hell. So
Brian White has 14 goals in 19 matches, and I mentioned that in my preview for AAT Sports. I was like, it's a huge bullet that they're dodging, not having to play Brian White. One of my concerns was the exact kind of thing that happened later in the match, where you don't have McConaughey in there, you don't have Danley in there. He wasn't there later, but at first stretch, you don't have Danley. So you have Bueno and Nathan Harriel kind of trying to figure out Thomas Muller, who's a player of just excellent caliber. And look what happened tonight. He just gets a hat trick, and I think gets an assist out of that too. So, to your point, Jillian, you had the opportunity to take advantage. 2-0.
Yeah, 2-0 now.
What is something going on? Is there like a full moon in MLS? Because you had the Atlanta game that was like 5-0 at one point.
Yeah, and that game had me thinking like, okay, Columbus being up, 5-0, and then Atlanta almost coming back. I'm thinking, okay, when Union were down like 4-0, I'm like, okay, but the Union have a chance if they can pull what Atlanta did, maybe, but no, not so much.
Absolutely terrible. All right, maybe get this comment off the screen because I went too far. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's keep going here. Now, I think this is really the worst turning point in this match, and that's when you really knew there was no coming back. Jesus Bueno gets a foul in the box, or it was like a handball in the box, and you get a penalty kick. Did you guys agree with the assessment to get the PK there for Vancouver? Jose, I guess I'll go to you first.
At that point, I didn't care. It's terrible. It's terrible to say, because at that point, from what I saw that was happening to Alejandro Bedoya, I knew that there was no way back, right? For every one goal that the Union would put in, it would be probably like 2 or 3 for Vancouver, honestly, just because it was so obvious that they were pinpointing all the attack of a Bedoya's side. So did the penalty help? Of course not. There was another question during the press conference, Mike, that was interesting, was, should the UA goal scored or actually counted, would that have changed anything, or like changed your substitution pattern? And I think Bradley said they finally uploaded the recording, something along the lines of like, no, not really, like we were going to make the substitutes anyways, but we just wanted to give the guys a feel for the game going into the second half, so put them in for a minute. Like, I don't. To me, this is a completely different topic, Mike, so I'm sorry to bring it up just because it's top of mind right now.
Okay.
I am not smarter than Bradley Cornell. I never will be. None of us ever will be, I don't think. Jillian, Mike, anybody. Like, I don't imagine that we'll ever have the soccer brains that Bradley Cornell has.
Sure.
But I can't help but to feel that was a terrible look for an Alejandro Bedoya, in terms of a guy who's maybe earned a little more respect than to be subbed out that embarrassingly going into the half, right? Like, why not just wait till halftime, right? Let the guy go to the showers and then come out clean, rather than pull him out, have him sit there for 1 minute, see the shit show that it was, and then go in and have to sit through it anyways. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. To me, it felt like it overexposed to someone who probably is treated like a legend around here. That was the one thought I had in mind during that time period.
No, it's fun, and it's funny, Jose. You say your brain's bouncing around. I feel like with most matches, it's so easy to find a path to take for the conversation, and tonight it's just all over the place. It's also midnight, so bear with us here, Jillian. I think Jose brings up a great point. And actually, really quick, Jose Hoagie actually says she's smarter than Bradley Cornell. So let's just make sure we clarify that. But Jillian, I didn't really think about that talking point tonight. Do you feel like maybe it was inappropriate to take out Bedoya prior to halftime, considering who he is and what he's done for the franchise?
Yeah, no, I was pretty shocked at taking him out then. I mean, why not just wait to the half at that point? I did feel it was a little disrespectful. And you also burn that window then too. So I get trying to prove a point and trying to get something going, but I don't know. I don't know if that was it, but
Jose, I see you throwing up the T. What's up?
Yeah, breaking statement from Alejandro Bedoya 4 minutes ago.
Can you read it for us?
Yeah, I'll be the first to apologize for my personal performance tonight and accept responsibility for the result tonight. Simply not good enough or anywhere near our standards and expectation. One thing is for sure. Sorry, my screen just dimmed. One thing is for sure. One result/game will not define us this season. On to the next one. Right mentality. Unfortunately, not from the get-go. Just I appreciate it. I take it in stride, and if anything, this maybe gives more fuel to my thinking of I don't think it was very fair to sub him before the half ended. It feels harsh, like absolutely harsh. And I'm the first one to tell you that he played like shit. And
Oh, he was not good tonight.
right.
A couple of comments thrown up. Philly Rovers says somebody wake Dave up. Philly Rovers actually. Speaking of Dave Miller, he's actually in the United States right now. Isn't he in Vegas right now, Jose? Where is Dave?
He texted me. He messaged me asking me about Argentinian food while he was in Vegas going to a Argentinian restaurant. I was like, dude, you're just living your best American life right now.
There's a spot.
Talking up about Vegas.
So there's a spot. In
oh
Vegas
my God!
City.
How do I
don't get him started?
How do I mute
Give him
this?
started. There is a spot.
Mute yourself, Julian.
Yeah, sorry. There is actually a spot north of Stratosphere, like a block from Stratosphere.
He knows.
Yeah, it has Venezuelan, and Argentinian food. I just know that because we passed this place like 20 times. Anyway.
Good to know, Kyle. Listen, but a real important fact, actually, Philly Rovers. So Dave Miller is in the United States. He'll be in Philadelphia on the night of the Open Cup game. So Dave and I are trying to find a watch party to watch the semifinals. So if anybody is going to be, I don't know if Brauhaus is doing something. If anybody's going to be watching the game somewhere, Dave Miller and I will be there. So if you guys want to meet our British friend, please come on, say hi. I'm going to take him out for wings beforehand. But you guys mentioned the statement here. Dan says, yeah, when you release a statement, especially that quickly, you know you were awful. Mandy says, I think it was a solid plan, but the moment they realized it was going so bad so quickly, they could have made the changes closer to the 30-minute and not the 45. Mandy, I think that's a great point. I think from the first 15 minutes, you knew Bedoya was not going to survive the first 45 minutes. But then, Jose, here's a counter to your thing. Is it more embarrassing to take him out right before the half or 10 minutes into the game?
And this is where I'm at, Mike. And I mentioned earlier, I don't think you need to take him out. I think you just shift Lukic to right back. It was so obvious that it wasn't going to work, Mike. Like you and I are dumb enough that we were able to tell that it wasn't going to work. So it just wasn't going to work. And I think Bradley has certainly earned himself a stinker, right? Considering the season that the team's having, et cetera. But like, that one I just question. I think the other he sort of put up another sentence during the press conference of we've had many instances or a body of work of the next man up mentality that allowed us to maybe go into this thinking that way and continuing to go about it with putting a heavily rotated lineup. Definitely not today. So. Again, just another interesting comment that he made during his press conference.
It is, and I'm really curious to see how this team responds. I mean, the reality is, and Alejandro Bedoya is absolutely correct, and we all know this, right? This is just one loss. This is just 3 points. It doesn't matter if it's 7. I mean, the 7-0 hurts from a goal differential standpoint, but at the end of the day, it's just one loss. And thankfully, it's not against an Eastern Conference opponent. How they respond on Tuesday is massive. It could be a huge turning point in the season. If they come out on Tuesday night and they look just as bad as they do tonight, I'm not really hopeful for the playoffs, which are only a few weeks away. I mean, Jillian and Kyle, either of you. Tuesday night for me is not just a must win, but it needs to be a statement type of performance, considering what we saw tonight.
Oh, absolutely. They need to get out there and be hungry and prove a point. It's got to happen because, all right, they kind of sacrificed this game and rotated the team. So, all right, well, you made that choice. Now make it pay off. And I think if they go and win that game and make a statement, and if they go on and win the Open Cup, then I think that will make a lot of people forget about this match a little bit. But, I think that definitely needs to happen. They need to be really angry about it. So
no, you just need to have that spark. I mean, again, all is forgiven if they go and win the U.S. Open Cup. All is forgiven. I don't think one Union fan out there would be upset if they go and win the U.S. Open Cup.
And also, sorry, go ahead, Kyle. Finish up.
No, that's my point. I mean, as bad as tonight was, and yeah, it was bad. Like, just go win the Open Cup now. If that's your prioritize right now, and the Shield. I mean, I'm watching right now. San Diego's down at home 2-0 Minnesota. I mean, so at the end of the night, Cleveland Union are still in first place after that, and Shield support stand. Now, just go win the Open Cup. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, and even in the Eastern Conference standings, they went from 5 points to 2 points, so they still have some of a lead over Cincinnati. I forget what I was going to say here. Oh, Jose, let's kind of segue into this. Oh, actually, really quick, there was no press conference release brought live on YouTube like they typically do. Hoagie mentions it here. So I don't know if it was because of a loss or because of whatever reason. It was just convenient. There was no. But anyway.
Technology. I just chalk it up to technology half the time. I don't blame you.
All right, let's talk about technology, VAR. So the Union scored a goal, makes it 3-1. At that point, when they make it 3-1, Ua scores the goal. I'm feeling a bit better. Mm-hmm. Jose, I'm going to go to you first here. We'll go back the other way around. Do you believe that was a no goal and VAR was correct there, or are you more on the fence like I was, where it was not clear and convincing from that angle that it should be overturned?
What's that Curb Enthusiasm GIF, whatever you want to call it, where the guy's like,
Larry David, yeah,
Larry David. Like I saw it both ways. Where like, okay, like this looks offside, but then like, is it really offsides? And I think when you're asking those questions and it's not clear and obvious, that's where you need to start thinking about rewriting some of these VAR rules in a way. Like if it's a hair, or like even in some like Champions League matches over the past couple of seasons, for sure, like you start seeing people off because of a toenail. Like that is fucking outrageous, right? So I'm either way on it. Obviously, what ifs don't matter, but
sure.
3-1 going into the half certainly feels a lot better than what it was going into the half. Does that spark a comeback? I don't think so. Maybe, I don't know. We'll never know. But nonetheless, it could have shifted something in a different universe, of course.
Sure, it would have given them life. I mean, and then like, again, you're talking about momentum and just entering the half. Not only do you get a goal overturned, but now Alejandro Bedoya slide tackles Ahmed. I actually thought he got the ball first, personally. Mm-hmm. Then that gets.
I thought so too.
But then that gets ruled for a PK after. So, Jillian, I'll kind of segue to you two now. Now all the momentum's gone, not just from getting the goal overturned, but now it's like you can't even catch a break on the other side of things because you get the PK there.
Yeah, no, I thought when Mikel initially or that goal, I was like, okay, back in this, it's not out of hand, and there's some hope there. And then that just took the wind out of the sails when that was overturned. And like, I'll be the first to admit, I'm like Ted Lasso when it comes to judging offside. But like Kyle and I were both watching, I'm like, we thought it was good. And the fact that it was, the review of it and everything went so quick. And then, the PK, the Bedoya one, we thought we're like, he got ball there. He got ball, like
I thought so too.
yeah, like we didn't think that, like the Bueno one, yeah, but like yeah, we didn't think that one should have been a PK, but what do we know? But yeah, so I mean that was rough, but yeah, I was saying to Kyle, I'm like, how would, like, I would just love to know how this would have gone had Mikel's goal stood, because okay, then they feel like, okay, there's a chance, got a little life here. But I mean, I just felt like once that was overturned, they just kind of gave up.
It's funny, Jillian. I just noticed that Kyle's not on your screen anymore. I hadn't looked at your screen.
Yeah, he's
Wait,
up taking a shower now.
where'd he go?
Washing the stink off of this game, I think.
Andrea joins us tonight saying, terrible night. Feel bad for Alejandro, not his fault at all. He sacrificed for the team. Bueno looked really bad. Also, I think the Bueno situation. I was definitely on the you need to play Jesus Bueno more often. We didn't see him a lot to start the season. I think by come May, maybe early April or so, we thought, why isn't Jesus Bueno playing more? And I see Minnesota has just made it 3-0. So Minnesota's kicking San Diego's ass. I appreciate it. Listen, Minnesota.
Thank you, Minnesota.
Minnesota's no joke.
Piping, as Hoagie says.
They're second place in the West. Minnesota is no joke. And I think Dan mentioned earlier Charlotte being pretty scared. They're also coming up on that table. But let me get back to the point I was trying to make here. I really have wanted Jesus Bueno to succeed. I think if you watch the show long enough and you remember this episode from I think 2 years ago, when the Union won the Eastern Conference Final, I was in the locker room with, I think, Jose. I don't know if you were there or not with me in the locker room that night, but all the players are celebrating, and I remember looking to my left and seeing Jesus Bueno sitting on the ground by himself, just kind of in street clothes, just kind of focused on, I don't know what he was focused on, but I will never forget that image of Jesus Bueno. And I always wanted him to succeed. He just seemed like you just love him, Choo-Choo, right? You love him. You want him to succeed, but he just has not been more than serviceable while he's on the field. And this is now the second time he's gotten a PK call on him in the box. I think it was a Houston match where Jack McGlynn hits a free kick and he gets his arm out.
We were there.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys were there. Jose,
yeah,
I don't know your thoughts on Jesus Bueno, but I feel like serviceable is basically where he stands now when it comes to his ability in this lineup.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a roller coaster with Jesus Bueno over the past 2-3 years at this point. Obviously, him going and getting his time with Union 2 or Bethlehem CO. I forget at what stage it was that he joined. I think it was Union 2 at that point, but still competing USL, if I recall. Neither here or there. What's been difficult for him is just not getting that time, right? Because if I recall, his real climb was Leagues Cup the first year of the new format, and then just getting more and more time. And if anything, congratulations to his agent for getting him that deal, that he's still riding on. That was kind of like they renewed his contract. That's interesting, and he got a pay bump. So
yeah,
I feel like he's the story of a player that could use time. Game time to get confidence. There you go. Yeah. I don't know. Like I don't know about a loan, but he's definitely not playing right now, and the path got even thicker and slower for him to maybe find some time with Milan and how well Lukic and Danley have done, and certainly Vasilev. So maybe a loan makes sense. So it's just he's in a difficult spot, and certainly hasn't gained a whole lot of confidence from being called up as injury reserves and then having to retreat with the national team because he gets injured himself. So it's been, once again, just an absolute roller coaster for him the last 2-3 years. And I just wonder what the club does with him in the future.
I don't see him coming.
3-1.
What?
3-1.
3-1.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see Jesus Bueno come back, but at the same time, I don't think it'd be right for him to come back once his contract ends. I do think he's better off finding a home somewhere else. I do think he's an MLS caliber starter. I think he can start in this league. I really do. I just don't think he's had the best opportunities with this particular club. And you can even look at players like CJ Olney. He just gets loans out to Louisville, Lexington, or Louisville, one of the two.
Lexington.
Lexington. And next all of a sudden he comes right back, and it's like, well, he just didn't seem to fit in here. He couldn't get minutes. It's one of those things where sometimes players need to find that avenue that they can actually be utilized to succeed. But they entered the locker room. I think it was 4-0 at the time, right? In the at the half tonight. I lost track of the score, honestly. I think it was 4-0. So they make the 3 subs. It was Baribo, Danley, and Kai Wagner. Later on in the second half, we see Neil Pierre for Milan Lasky, and we see Danley for who else came in? No, Bruno came in for Indy in the second half. Jillian, any thoughts on the subs? At the second half, I feel like it was a wash too, but I didn't have a problem with the subs that Carnell made.
Yeah, no, I mean that was fine. I was cool with bringing Neil on. I mean, at this point, give him some experience.
Yeah.
Why not? It's a shame that it didn't go as well as you'd hope, but yeah, I mean, the subs I brought on at that point, yeah, that was fine. I wish that Kai had been on, of course, to start, but with that one, but yeah, I mean, bring Bruno on, that's fine, and Neil. So, oh, there goes Kyle again.
Jose,
yeah.
Well, Jose, one of the questions I just thought of now as I'm looking at this lineup, Jovan Lukic entered this match on yellow card accumulation from what I saw today on MLS disciplinary summary. I believe then he'll be out for the next match, right, with a yellow card?
He's out.
Yeah, he's out. Yeah.
So
MLS match.
MLS match, exactly. Yes, thanks. I mean, and in that regard, do you maybe leave Neil on the bench and then bring in Jeremy Raffanello to replace him? Lukic is so important for us every single match. I don't really necessarily want to see him missing the New England match, but at the same time, I think we can handle New England at home without him. I don't know your thoughts on Lukic's absence now.
It certainly doesn't help, right? When you're looking to string some wins here, and this was never going to be a gimme, of course, but like the opportunity San Diego loses, what if the Union would have won, right? In terms of continuing to distance themselves or find a way to distance themselves, period, at the top of the pack. So I don't know, somehow the Union stumble into more luck, right? And then maybe that's just, the way the season is. But ultimately, as nice as the Shield is, and as much glory as people put behind the Shield, that's not the one that puts a star over your crest in this league. And certainly, sure, it's a piece of silverware. I get that, but the U.S. Open Cup and the actual playoffs are the ones that truly, truly matter.
And Lewis mentions here a must win on Tuesday. If not, the team will fall apart. It's funny how confident we were on this team just 5 or 6 hours ago, and now suddenly it feels like this Tuesday match is so important. And you know what? The reality is Nashville's a solid squad. They've beaten us twice already. Granted, I don't think we were at our best for either of those competitions. So I do think that we are better than what we've shown them so far. But even if they were to lose on Tuesday, as long as they show some fight, and if it's like a 3-2 thriller, like we just get beat off something ridiculous, whatever, fine. You just have to show up. And that's the most important thing for me right now. In terms of the Union's upcoming schedule, again, we've talked about this a bunch of times. They have Nashville on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. They then come back home. They host New England. They travel to DC United. And then they have 2 games in October. They host NYCFC. And then they travel to Charlotte to end the season. I think that's going to be a massive game. And there's a real chance with Charlotte playing the way they are that could be the top spot in the Eastern Conference. Jillian, any thoughts on this upcoming schedule beyond Nashville on Tuesday?
Well, I think it's games that they can certainly win, and they need to win. And especially with 2 of them being at home. And then DC, if they don't go and win at DC, that's a place where they've been very good, and DC's not been good, and they need to go get that for sure. But the rest of their schedule, Charlotte's going to be tough. Charlotte, that's the one where it's like, okay, that's going to be the tough one, I think. But the other matches, I think, are totally winnable, and they need to go take care of business there. And so That would be huge. And we'll see how they bounce back. I mean, I think it was Ryan Bross tweeted on he tweeted about like, well, remember what the Phillies did? They went and got swept by the Mets up at Citi Field and looked like crap. And then, well,
Jim
you see what they're
mentioned that,
doing now. Yeah. So let's see how they regroup and they
Who's the
can.
baiter? Who's going to be the baiter of the team?
Oh, you know what? Hear me out. Give CJ only a chance. Bring him
Oh,
in. Now,
I like
I've
that.
always been really high on CJ. And Ryan Richter said CJ is going to be in the squad this weekend. So, for Union 2, but no, in all seriousness, that's a great question. Who would be the Harrison Bader? Cause that guy's been on a tear. What a great move, but,
I think Pulaski is the closest comparison. The guy they brought
I
in,
think,
right?
yeah, no, I agree. That's a great point. Yeah, I was really hoping I could use a meme with Olaski tonight. I think you saw just, I thought for sure Olaski come in and at least score one.
Yeah,
But oh, so much for that. But yeah, I think he's actually a good comparison there. So
absolutely.
yeah.
Jose, any concerns with these last few matches? We have 3 games in a week this week. However, we have a week rest between the New England match and DC United. We have a week rest between DC United and NYCFC, and then we get 2 weeks off before we finish the season in Charlotte, which really, from an injury standpoint, from a health standpoint, it's fantastic to have that. So, any concerns with these last 4 or 5 games on the Union schedule?
Obviously a must win on Tuesday. No cutting it any other way. They have to win, and I think us on the press side and fans alike don't want to say would forget about a 7-0 loss. I think that's one I'm never going to erase from my brain as someone who sat through the majority of it. But certainly holding a trophy over their head in October, the U.S. Open Cup would certainly alleviate remembering this big blip in it all. So as I look at who's left, I don't know, man. Should be a win against New England. Should be a win against DC United. New York City at the Union is a completely different ball of wax than going to either Brooklyn or
Queens.
Queens. And then the Charlotte game, that feels like an absolute crap of a game to end the season because again, you mentioned it, Mike. I'll never forget that 2022 match because I was building patio furniture and I wanted to break it already without even watching the game. So we'll see. I don't know, man. Nine points in that stretch there of those MLS games. Call it 12 with a Nashville win. I know that's a different competition, but like 12 out of those possible 15 points worth of matches, like that would be awesome. And of course, like I said, Nashville's not an MLS competition, but you follow what I'm saying.
Yeah, and we would have the if we were to advance, the final would be probably in October, right? Or is it end of
It's mid-October if I recall, like 21st, I think.
Oh, so it'd be 3 days after that Charlotte match. So we're talking about
U.S. Open Cup final. I'll tell you in a second. Good thing we have this thing called the internets.
As Dan says, that Charlotte game is huge. I mean, it could really be an Eastern Conference final preview. Go ahead, Jose.
October 1 is what I'm getting immediately from Google. So it's
right before the NYC match then.
Yeah, and I don't know how they go about rescheduling things, if at all. I don't think that they do that, but
I don't think so either. Well, listen, it's 12:45 in the morning. Jillian and Jose, I'm glad you guys. Well, Jose, you don't count. You're on the West Coast. You're fine. Jillian, I'm glad you.
This is weird. It says September 30th on the U.S. Soccer website for the final.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
I saw it as October 1st because I was looking at that.
Maybe because you're on the West Coast, Jose.
Maybe.
That is because
I don't know.
I
saw it was October 1st when I looked because Kyle and I are going to go if they make it. So,
Jillian, though, speaking of you and Kyle, anything coming up, interview wise, show wise, plugs, if you want to throw in some stuff from the one team we agree on.
Yeah, so I have a bunch of coverage on Union 2. They play tomorrow at 3, I guess today, technically. And lots of great stuff from Ryan Richter. We talked to him this week. So talked about the CJ only loan and his return and talked about a whole bunch of things. So, go check that out, everyone. And also Kyle actually interviewed Jacob Glesnes at training recently. And there's an article on our website about that as well.
Nice.
Talking about the last few games coming up and all of that. So that's on the oneteamweagreeon.com for our articles. We're going to probably record a pod after the Eagles game at some point tomorrow / today. So so we'll have a bunch of that coming up, and we are hoping to get some guests on our show soon. We have some that we're planning on, so some real good ones.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Oh, great. I appreciate you joining me, and try to get some rest. I know you're back at school now, so a big rest on the weekends is needed for sure. Jose, I mean, I know we just talked the other day, but anything coming up for you?
No, I think I'll go back to talking about our done interview.
Yes.
Like that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, and some off the woodwork people came up and commented on it. So that was nice to see some people, current radio host and former radio host of that station. It was neat to see them come out, and exciting to have a soccer fan within one of the big two radio stations in Philadelphia. So again, Union continue to be very fortunate with the folks that they get behind the microphone.
Definitely, yeah. And for those who have not followed us or really had a chance to watch that, Jose and I interviewed Ray Dunn from 97.5 The Fanatic. You might know him from covering play-by-play for women's and men's for Temple basketball. He does, I think he mentioned he does Temple soccer as well. He's filling in for the 10 to 2 show on 97.5 The Fanatic right now, but he is, I guess, the sub for Dave Leno when he can't do Union matches, but he's also now producing some of the Union stuff too. So he's really just getting more involved. I had a fantastic time talking with him, just like you did, Jose. And he's just the nicest dude ever. I mean, even he clipped one of the parts of the show and like put on his Instagram, like really just things you don't have to do whatsoever. And the fact that he joined us, had a really open conversation, answered some tough questions, and then also went out of his way to share stuff. I think that was great. So Ray Dunn was a fantastic interview, and if you haven't checked it out, check it out on AAT Sports Network. Otherwise, the Union lost what feels like 17-0, but at the end of the day, we just lost a game. Hopefully Tuesday night we'll come back and have a better performance. I will not be on a post-game show Tuesday night because I'll be with Dave partying somewhere, hopefully, as we go to the U.S. Open Cup final. Otherwise, if you guys want to have a show, that's it. But good night, good morning. Go Union, everybody.